Hello and welcome to the Alchemy Lounge podcast, and in this week's episode we are talking about one of our gorgeous witchy sabbats, the festival of Lammas, and how this reveals what 2026 has been all about for you so far and gives you a really great reflection point in your business. So let's dive on in. I'm your host, Victoria Quance, a lifelong practicing witch and author of The Witch Way to Manifest. And after helping hundreds of people all around the world with incorporating practical magic into their business and lifestyle, I bring to you the first podcast blending personal psychology and the power of the universe with practical tools and modern alchemy to show you how to enhance your business and your well-being in the most natural way possible. This is the Alchemy Lounge podcast, where magic becomes your competitive advantage, not just a hobby. Hello, my loves. Welcome to this week's episode of the Alchemy Lounge podcast. So today we are talking about one of our gorgeous witches' sabbats. We have 8 sabbats throughout the year. They are basically like our witches' holidays. So we have 8 of them as we go through what is called the Wheel of the Year. And we have literally just had one of them on the 1st of August, known as Lammas or Lughnasadh, depending on what you would like to refer to it as. And this is kind of like the Wiccan Thanksgiving. It is the witches' first harvest. So if ever you had harvest festivals when you were at school, you know, when we'd take in like tins of potatoes and carrots and fruits and things, and we'd put together like little harvest baskets. It's kind of like that sort of energy. I can't even remember at what time of year we did that. I'm guessing it would have been, it was the school term, wasn't it? So it would have at least been September, if not later. Anyway, this is our witches' Thanksgiving. It is our harvest festival, or at least one of them. It's the first of the harvest celebrations. And what I invite you to utilize this time for, and this week's podcast is all about, is what has been revealed to you so far in 2026. Now, we've also just had the full moon in Aquarius, which ties in beautifully with this energy, because you've got the visionary aspect of Aquarius and this first harvest celebration coming together and giving you a real window of opportunity where you can look at, okay, what's been working, what has generated the most joy, the most fulfillment, the most revenue, and really reflect on your abundance and what you have received so far. Now, another energy that we have at this time, which I have to mention as a cosmic witch, is the wonderful Pluto. So he's like the cosmic harvest god at this time, and he's coming in and asking what no longer serves your soul's evolution. So we've got this gorgeous opportunity for reflecting. We're celebrating everything that you've achieved so far. So make sure you do actually give yourself time and space to acknowledge that and celebrate it. And if you don't already do this, what I find really delicious and really lovely is to actually schedule ahead of time in my calendar just really random points of celebration. So it could be at the end of every month you have a celebration, and that celebration could literally be you, a nice cup of coffee and a slice of cake, just celebrating that you've had another month. You've enjoyed another month in your business, whatever you have achieved during that time, and just taking that moment of celebration. It could be a celebratory dinner with your loved ones. It could be throwing a full-blown party celebration. Whatever feels good for you, but actually having that time and space to celebrate is really, really key, because what that does is it creates a different frequency for you, and the universe goes, oh, hey, they really like this. I'm going to give them more of this. So more things to celebrate. So that's the first thing I would guide you towards, is actually having time and space to celebrate. But with this Pluto energy coming through, mixed with the Aquarius energy, what is no longer serving you? What has that Aquarius energy shown you that has been around you for 2026 so far? So with the themes of Lammas, this could be anything to do with your kind of natural resolve and your willpower. So we can look at this from a business perspective, but you can also look at this from a personal perspective as well. So where have you perhaps not delivered on your intentions? Where have you not yet received things relating to your willpower and your dedication? And this is not to come from a shaming angle, because actually the ego is a really strong theme at this time of year as well, because we've got the Leo energy. But where have you perhaps either been working towards something that wasn't actually a fit for you? So it could have been that it came from a societal pressure, it came from wanting to fit in or seeking approval, or actually you were doing something for somebody else rather than for you. We want to look at that, and we want to be really honest about it and see where it's not really for us. And is it something that we can let go of over the coming months? Another theme that's really strong at this time is connecting to our parents and our elders. So when this shows up in a professional sense, we want to ask the question, is everything we are working towards in our business or our professional lives, is it actually for our own achievement and our own satisfaction? Or even as adults, are we still seeking some kind of parental or caregiver approval, or even societal approval? So where are you operating from this almost like a need for validation, rather than actually doing things because they serve your soul's evolution, they serve your soul purpose? And we're going to be talking a lot about purpose and what you're actually here to achieve and receive over the next couple of episodes of the podcast. But I just invite you at this time to really sit with that. And because the ego can be very present during Leo season, there can be a tendency to go into fight or flight mode. And when we're in this mode in business, as we've talked about in previous episodes, it can really put us predominantly into that masculine energy, and it can really create a friction, because it might actually be a mismatch as to what we want to be really doing in our business, which tends to come from that feminine energy of creativity and flow and intuition and what we're really here to enjoy. So is there anything that you're being shown this time of year that is just not quite a match? It's not quite a match. And anything that needs to be resolved because of that. Anything that's no longer serving you, and where we perhaps need to shift our standards a little bit. So in terms of a little bit of witchy well-being for you, this is an ideal time to look at your boundaries, look at your standards, especially if you have got any of this sort of external influences coming in that are predetermining where you're actually focusing your goals and where you're directing your energy. If you look at that really honestly and you go, do you know what, actually I'm building a business because I thought this would make my family proud, but I would much rather be doing something else in my business. We want you to be honest about that and listen to your soul at this time. You've got that Pluto energy to help you, you've got that Aquarius energy to help you, but just be mindful of the Leo energy of the ego coming in here. When you're creating a business, it is really challenging sometimes to separate that from the self. And especially if you are a personal brand, which if you are a Leo, you are literally your brand. But we still want to have that separation, because otherwise we can take things so personally. So when you're looking at your harvest, when you're looking at what you are reaping so far this year, and you look at that and you feel some kind of disappointment, we want to make sure you're not making that mean anything about you. So this is where you can use discernment and see when you're reviewing your business abundance and you're reviewing your business harvest, are you making it mean something other than the pure data and fact? That is for you to determine. If you find that challenging to separate fact from fiction and you're making it mean something about you, this is where we want to remove that ego and remove that connection. Remember, your business absolutely is, it's the most confronting and biggest personal development journey I think any of us can ever go on. It can be a literal mirror of you. And that is why I do the work that I do with my clients, to make sure that it is the best reflection that they're seeing. But this time of year and this particular Sabbat celebration allows us to distinguish these things. It allows us to make that separation and look at, okay, where do I need to have some boundaries in my business? Whether that is boundaries in terms of the influence that you're allowing into your business. That could be influence from family, it could be influence from society, it could be influence even from your coaches and your mentors. Where are you allowing that to infiltrate rather than listening to your soul truth and what you actually want your business to be and what you are here to deliver and enjoy? But also we want to look at your standards that you're upholding. I always think of boundaries and standards as kind of one and the same. A boundary to me is a standard that you set for yourself. So as you look at your harvest, that might show you exactly where your standards perhaps haven't been at a level that you would like them to be at. This could be standards in terms of your revenue. It could be standards in terms of your team. It could be standards in terms of your clients. Whatever standards you set and uphold for yourself, for your business, are they serving you? Or do you need to raise them? Because you are the business owner. You get to determine what those standards are. What is the standards for your pricing? What is the standards for the caliber of client that you want to work with? What's the standard for your operations and your delivery? What is the standards for your content and your messaging and your marketing? Are you living to those standards? Or is this first harvest showing you that actually we want to review them a little bit and raise the bar? And this is not to raise expectation and create pressure. This is coming from that soul place. So this is where I invite you to differentiate between your ego's standards of what it perhaps is going to deem as an impossible standard and expectation, and it creates pressure. So you will know if you are setting a standard or a boundary and it feels heavy, it's coming from your ego. If you're setting a standard or a boundary or a new kind of blueprint for your own business and it feels like structure and it feels safe and it creates that stability and it almost makes you sit up that little bit straighter, because you're like, no, this is what I expect, this is what I stand for, this is what I believe in, this is the vision for my business, and it feels good, it's come from your soul. So that's a great little activity for you to explore over the next week or so. But another gorgeous aspect for your well-being at this time is connecting to your inner child. Now, with the Leo season, Leo the lion loves play. It loves fun. It loves anything bold and creative. So where can you bring more of that energy, more of that fun, more of that playfulness into your business and into your self-care as a business owner? Because very often we get to this point during the year and we look back and we go, flipping heck, like how have we got to this point? How is it August already? And we can feel like we've just been kind of plugging away and we've just been keeping going and going and going and working and building that momentum. And then we get here and we go, oh, where am I? And that's what this festival is all about. That's what Lammas is all about, is getting you to go, okay, how am I here? How have I got here? And am I happy to be here? but also, okay, now we want to have a little bit of play. And it's no coincidence, in the UK, this kind of falls with the summer holidays as well, because it's when we literally want that break away. We want to have more fun. We want to have adventure. We want to have enjoyment. And all too often, I see this where business owners, if we didn't have this pause or this break that comes from school, they would keep going all the way through till Christmas and then wonder why they're exhausted when they get there. So where can you, in your business, not only reflect on your harvest, but reflect on how much fun you're having? And some of you will straight away be like, yep, but business isn't meant to be fun, and it's supposed to be sensible and perhaps a little bit boring. And absolutely, business can be boring. And when you've got to that point, that's amazing, because that potentially means you're then just running and scaling and building, and it's not taking all that much from you. And as a result of that, it can feel boring. Brilliant. Go and enjoy some hobbies. Enjoy some freedom. That's fantastic. But also, in whatever stage of business you're in, whether you're in the ideas phase, whether you're in launch phase, whether you're in the scaling and building and continuation, or you're in a pivot or a transition, you can still incorporate fun and play. And even if at any other time of year that just doesn't quite feel appropriate, or it's not really a match for your personality or your brand, that's okay too. Depending on where your Leo placements are, this will live in a different kind of arena for you. But just for August, just for Leo season, where can you make business a little bit more fun, and where can you bring your inner child into your business as well? And to help you with that, think back to when you were little. Like, what did you want to be when you grew up? And can you bring any of that in to your business? So I always wanted to be a vet when I was little, and I loved animals. I still love animals. Anything to do with animals, I adore. Sometimes wish I worked with animals more than humans in certain instances, but it's no coincidence that it's always around this time of year that I also go, I wonder if I could do anything with animals. Like, could I go and do animal healing, or where can I bring animals into my business more? And sometimes it's not necessarily a literal thing, but this is also the time of year that I will naturally work more with my animal spirit guides as well, and bring them into my business and bring animal medicine into my business to make it more fun and playful. So feel into what that looks like for you, but allow yourself to find the joy in your business again. It's really, really key for us to actually, enjoy what we're building, enjoy what we're creating, because you've set out in your business for a reason, and it was probably in part to enjoy things that perhaps you weren't getting from employment. So we want to make sure that you're actually enjoying it, seeing as you have made this decision to have a business. When it comes to your little abundance audit, when you look at what you have received, like I said earlier, we want to detach meaning from that, but also consider what you haven't received yet. And this will help you to determine whether actually it is still something that you do want to receive or achieve in your business, or if actually you're going in a little bit of a different direction now. It may not be as important as it once was. But also, if you've not yet received it and you still want to, there are 3 ways that we can look at this as to why. Why haven't we received it yet? So one of these reasons is that we have a perception that we're going to have to make a sacrifice. So whatever it is that you were hoping to receive that you've not yet, so say it was a certain amount of new clients and maybe you've received half of them. But if you had received the full amount that you intended to, do you have a perception that that means you're going to have to sacrifice something? Does it mean that you have to sacrifice your time or your energy, or sacrificing time with your family in order to serve those additional clients? So whenever we have this perception that there's going to be a sacrifice, unconsciously we can get in the way, because it's a protection, right? It's just like fight or flight. Actually, it's a protection mechanism. And even though we've spoke about the ego in this episode, in that we want to make sure we're not operating solely from ego, your ego is also there to protect you. So if we think there's going to have to be a sacrifice, we're going to get in our own way to protect ourselves from it. On a similar note, the second thing to check for is any perceived negative consequences. So these might not be a sacrifice necessarily. It could just be a consequence of receiving the thing. So say, for example, this was an income goal that you had, and you've not quite received that full amount of income that you stated that you wanted. So a consequence of having that higher income might be that actually you go into a different tax bracket, or you have a perception that actually that's going to be quite difficult to manage that amount of money because you've not yet experienced that amount of revenue before. So you're not sure how you would manage it and handle it. So you might need an accountant that you don't yet have. So these are consequences, and we perceive them as being potentially negative consequences, or a consequence that we're not sure how to handle yet because we've not done it yet. So it could be that you need, to bring on team members because you've got an influx of clients and it's more administration work. That could be a consequence of your growth as well. So when we look at these consequences, we want to treat them as more growth opportunities. So yes, we might need an accountant. Yes, we might be going up a tax bracket. Yes, I might need a team to support me. But they are growth opportunities. And right now, the version of you right now might be thinking, yeah, but I don't know how to deal with that. And how am I going to afford that? And all of these things can come up. But when you reach that point, it's because you've actually got the financials there to afford an accountant or a team, because you've expanded, right? And also, you're then at that point where you're ready to grow. You're ready for that next level, because you might be experiencing that boredom that I mentioned earlier, because everything at the moment is very samey and familiar. So you will never be put in a position that you cannot handle or deal with. The universe doesn't think that you are capable of. So that is where it's a question for you. And this is part of your lovely little Lammas abundance audit, however you want to view it, is asking yourself, do you still want to grow to the level that you said you did, perhaps in January this year, when you set your business intentions for the year? Or if you do them with the lunar cycle, are they still accurate? Is that still your intention? Is that still the level that you want to achieve? And you have the right to change your mind. It is okay if actually, do you know what? Maybe I don't want $1 billion business. Maybe I am really, really happy with a £500,000 business. Okay, you can change your mind. Sometimes the goals and intentions we set, they've not necessarily come from us. And that is, again, why it's part of this check-in at this time is, are the goals coming from you? And as you're reaping that harvest and reaping all the wonderful things that you've already achieved, if they don't feel as good as what you expected, is it because it wasn't for you in the first place? This is why I always encourage people, to be incredibly selfish when it comes to your goals and intentions, because they are for you and only you. And how you feel when you receive them and you achieve them is going to have massive overflow and beautiful domino effects on everyone around you and in your life. But if you're approaching your goals for somebody else, whether it be your children, your family, your parents, whoever, society, to fit in, once you achieve those goals, it's not going to feel how you want to feel, because it was never for you in the first place. Okay, so something to make sure you are really considering. And that leads me into the third area of checking why you haven't received something yet. And the third area is to see if there's a conflict. And this is usually a conflict in values and what you see as being important. So all of these interlink, the sacrifices, the consequences, and the conflict. They're all based on your perception and the lens as to which you view your business. So, if you're not happy with the outcome, we can change the lens and change your perception. That's ultimately how you then change your reality, right? But if there's a conflict between your values, and a really, really common one I see with entrepreneurs is they have a value for stability or comfort or safety, and yet they've gone into owning a business. And being an entrepreneur can bring that element of risk and uncertainty, because it also brings the freedom aspect and creativity and the ability to do whatever it is that you want to do. But at times, as we go through cycles, as nature does, as our business does, as we do, we can sometimes have those periods of instability, and that then creates a conflict with values if your main values are around stability and security. So if you've not received or achieved something yet, is it because there is a conflict between the goal and the values associated with that goal and your core values as the human behind the business? Have you actually got a little bit of conflict there? Is there some incongruency for you to look at? And of course, you can change the goal. You can also change your values. You can reprioritize your values at any point. Doesn't mean you've got rid of them completely. It just might mean if you're in like a building and launching phase, for example, that your values at that time are shifting to the excitement and the creativity and the ambition rather than the stability and the security that comes later in the cycle when you're reaping those rewards. Okay, my loves. So quite a few things there for you to ponder. So it's very much a little pondering week for you. So we're giving thanks, we're celebrating. Make sure you have got some celebrations scheduled in for this week. Even if it is super small, you just take yourself out for a nice ice cream and a walk along the beach, celebrating how far you've come and the fact that you are still going, still working away on your business at this point during the year is amazing. And I don't think any entrepreneur or business owner gives himself enough credit for just how resilient and how well we keep going. So I'm celebrating you. So I encourage you to do the same. And then also looking at where we are in abundance, what we have achieved, what we have received, what's been revealed for you so far in 2026, and what no longer serves your soul's evolution. Is there anything that we want to release? Is there anything that we need to bring in some standards or some boundaries so that things are actually a little bit more sustainable, so we can actually get through the rest of 2026? And is there anything that we've not received yet that is down to perceived sacrifice, conflict, or consequence? Okay. So I will leave you there for this episode. Remember to have fun, bring in your inner child, bring in the enjoyment throughout Leo season. Enjoy this gorgeous celebration, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Alchemy Lounge podcast. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe and share this with someone you feel would benefit from this magic as well. And remember, you can collect some freebies and goodies all over on my website, vqlifestyle.com, including the 5-day reset for your business and your well-being. And of course, the Witch's Blueprint, which is integral for your business to help show you how you can work with astrology and tarot to enhance your business in the best way possible. Thank you again, and I will see you on the next episode.